Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 3. Lesson from Quran Al-Hakim by thinker of the Quran, Allama Ahmad Parwez. Dear brothers, today is June 2, 1968, and we are beginning a new series of Quranic lessons, starting with the opening verses of Surah Al-Baqarah. A Muslim servant's intense desire before God and its answer. In Surah Al-Fatiha, a deep yearning burst forth on the lips in these words. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, 1-5. Guide us to the straight path. This was the plea, that in the journey of life we may be guided to a path that is straight and smooth. As soon as this yearning was expressed, the answer came. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ 2-2. This is the book, free from doubt, a guidance for the muttaqeen. Thus the prayer was immediately granted acceptance. You asked for guidance, here it is. But note, guidance is only needed by one who wishes to walk the path. One who sits at home does not need guidance for the road. So the first condition is, you must want to walk. The second condition, you must determine your destination. When you ask someone for directions, you must first say, I want to go to Shah Alami. Which road leads there? Only after the destination is fixed does the question of guidance arise. For wanderers, there is no such question. Thus, two conditions are necessary. 1. The desire to walk. 2. The determination of a destination. And along with this, guidance requires that the path be safe, straight and smooth. Before taking the first step, you must be certain that the path fulfills these conditions and will lead you to the destination. Therefore, the Quran says, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ 2-3. Those who, before taking the step, attain certainty that the path is correct. Religious teaching relies on faith instead of reason. As I explained previously, when deen descends to the level of religion, its words and terms remain the same, but their meanings change. And once meanings change, translations also change accordingly. Thus, when we try to understand the original concept through these altered translations, we can never truly grasp it. Take Iman, for example. In our context, it was left untranslated as Iman, but in English, it was translated as faith. Now, in their thought, faith is always contrasted with reason. Faith and reason are seen as opposites. Where faith exists, reason has no role. So when Iman was translated as faith, the immediate impression was extinguish the light of reason and step into darkness. But the Quran said, Iman is what brings you out of darkness into light. Instead, we extinguished even the little light of reason we had, walked blindly in darkness and called it Iman.
The true meaning of Iman. Iman is not faith. It is to accept a truth based on knowledge and insight, with evidence and reasoning, with complete satisfaction of heart and mind. Whatever word you choose in translation must carry this meaning. In English, the word conviction comes closer, though even that is not perfect. Conviction must be of the highest degree, based on reason, evidence, and insight, so complete that it cannot be fake or artificial. This is what the Quran calls الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ 2-3, those who believe with full conviction. The difference between the concept of ghaib in religion and in deen. When Iman was translated as faith, another word came along with it, ghaib. The Quran says, يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ 2-3. Now, as soon as the word ghaib appears, the conventional religious notion is that it means to believe in unseen realities without any role for reason or intellect. Thus, Iman bil ghaib is commonly understood as just accept it blindly. But this is not the Quranic meaning. The Quran itself clarifies by bringing the opposite word alongside ghaib. Its style is to always explain by contrast. For example, regarding God, the Quran says, Alimul ghaibi wa shahada 13:9. He knows both the unseen, ghaib, and the witnessed, shahada. Thus, ghaib means that which is not yet witnessed. Shahada refers to what is accessible through sense perception. Whatever can be known through the senses is mashhud, witnessed, and the process of acquiring such knowledge is shahada. Expanding knowledge gradually turns the unseen into the seen. The Quran explains that there is an alam al-mashhud, the witnessed world, the universe accessible through sense perception. But there are also realities beyond the reach of the senses. Remember, among the Arabs, ghaib referred only to something that exists but is not yet witnessed. If something does not exist at all, they did not call it ghaib. So what is ghaib? It is that which, at a certain stage of human knowledge, remains beyond perception. But as knowledge advances, those same realities enter the realm of sense perception and become shahada. Countless forces and elements of the universe were once ghaib. Later, scientific discoveries made them mashhud. For example, radio waves, television signals, radiant energies, and technologies that now reach into the heavens. All these forces existed within the universe, but human knowledge had not yet perceived them. Gradually, they became witnessed. Thus, ghaib is not something irrational or mystical. It is simply that which is real but not yet perceived. The Quran's expansion of human perspective. The Quran warns, do not think that only what is accessible to the senses is all that exists. There is more beyond. By saying, Alimul ghaybi wa shahada, 13:9, the Quran expands the horizons of knowledge. It is not limited to what fits into the narrow vessel of human perception at one time. To think otherwise is like the frog in the well, imagining the whole universe is just the well. And when such narrowness is sanctified as religion, Akbar al-Alabadi, 1846 to 1921, aptly described it. Jahe Zamzam ke aap mein different. You are frogs of the sacred well of Zamzam.
Human thought can never attain the degree of infinity. The universe is vast. At one stage of knowledge, certain things are ghaib, unseen, but at another stage, they become mashhud, witnessed. Yet some realities remain ghaib in this physical life of man and can never become mashhud. For example, the divine essence. What is the essence of God? This cannot come within the reach of the senses. As I have said many times before, this matter belongs to the domain of philosophy, and such technical discussion is not possible in this type of gathering. In 2 words, whatever is infinite cannot be contained within the finite. Our minds cannot grasp it. If we say that time is endless, without beginning, our minds cannot comprehend it. If we say the universe has no final boundary, our minds cannot conceive it. No matter how much imagination or thought is concentrated, the mind must stop at some point, because it is limited. Infinity cannot be contained in the finite mind. Therefore, such realities remain in the realm of ghaib. Is knowledge of the unseen, beyond human reason, contrary to iman? The question arises, if ghaib is beyond perception and the senses, does iman mean accepting it blindly, without thought or reflection? Is this the one possible exception where reason cannot operate? But this is the Quran, dear brothers, when it defines iman as accepting truth on the basis of reflection, intellect, insight, and evidence, it cannot then introduce a clause requiring acceptance without thought. That would contradict the very definition of iman. The Quran never demands acceptance of the unseen without thought. Something being beyond the senses is one matter, accepting it without thought is another. Thousands of things are beyond the senses, yet through reflection and reasoning, man accepts them as realities. For example, everything in the universe is created. Logic and reason dictate that if there is a created thing, there must be a creator. Whether or not the creator comes within the reach of the senses, thought compels us to accept him. Thus, for realities beyond the senses, the Quran does not demand blind acceptance. It requires acceptance through thought and knowledge. The case of life after death. Among the realities of ghaib, life after death stands foremost. Regarding God, one can still logically conclude from the order and beauty of the universe that there is a power behind it. But life after death does not present itself in the same way. Therefore, it may seem that this must be accepted blindly, but the Quran does not say so. This is the subtlety and greatness of the Quran. Even for such realities, the Quran insists on reflection. It says, كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمُ الْآيَاتِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. Thus does God make his laws clear to you, so that you may reflect upon them in this world and in the afterlife. Reaching truth through clear signs and reflection. Listen, dear brothers, see where the Quran leads us. The Quran is filled with calls to reflect upon God. And regarding life after death, a reality far beyond the limits of human perception, the Quran says, يُبَيِّنُهُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. These are signs, indications. For realities that are imperceptible and unseen, only signs can be given. But these signs are not left vague. يُبَيِّنُهُ اللَّهُ. God makes them clear before you, so that,
لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. You may reflect upon them regarding both this worldly life and the hereafter. Thus, even for ghaib, the unseen, which cannot enter the realm of sense perception, Iman is never demanded without reflection. A third dimension of Iman in relation to ghaib. You see, even within yu'minun, the act of believing itself requires reflection. And in yu'minun bil ghaib, the Quran teaches that even those realities which will never become mashhud, witnessed, must be believed only after reflection and reasoning, not blindly. This is a profound point. The Quran itself provides arguments for such matters. Regarding the hereafter, it gives intellectual proofs. No dead person will rise before us to demonstrate life after death, nor will anyone return from the next world to show us. The Quran gives rational arguments instead. That is why it says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَفَكَّرُونَ, so that you may accept these truths through thought. An illustrative example from agriculture. Consider this analogy. Farmers had long been sowing local wheat. With great effort, yields reached 20-25 mounds per acre. Then the Department of Agriculture announced, "We have a new seed. If you sow it, you will harvest 100 mounds per acre." The farmers laughed. 100 mounds? Impossible. We have been sowing wheat since the time of Adam. At best, 25-30 mounds per acre. 100? You must be joking. But the department planted the seed in government farms. When the crop was harvested, indeed 100 mounds per acre were produced. The next year, farmers were desperate to obtain that seed. Why did they not believe at first? Because they had not yet seen the results. At that time, the claim was ghaib. But once the unseen produced tangible results, everyone believed. The lesson. This example shows how unseen realities, ghaib, can be accepted through clear signs and rational proofs. Even if not directly witnessed, when evidence and reasoning make them clear, Iman is established. Change of system brings change of results. In human social or civilizational life, such a system also emerges. Today, one system is prevalent. There is no other word for it, so it must be called disorder. What else can one say? In this system, nothing is in its proper place. Clearly, there is fasad fil bar wal bahr, corruption on land and sea. In it, dishonesty, law-breaking, fraud, deceit, and manipulative tricks dominate. Within this system, man learns how overnight he can become a millionaire. In such times, if someone says, "No, if you establish your society on honesty and integrity, you will see that its results will be as abundant as 100 mounds per acre compared to this," everyone laughs. They say, "Go away. We have tried it. Here, honesty only leads to destruction." No one accepts that a system based on truth can also produce pleasant results. Need for establishing the right system to achieve fruitful results. Their condition is, first show us the results, then we will accept its truth. But this is impossible. Results cannot appear until such a system is established. Yet, within this same society, there will arise people who intellectually and scientifically will perceive that this is indeed correct. What will they do then? They will say, whatever happens, let us act upon it and see. Among them, a group will emerge. That group will, even before the results are visible, believe intellectually in the truth of those values. As I said earlier, a moment cannot produce results until he also becomes a Muslim. They will first bring conviction in these truths. Then what will they do? They will establish such works in their own sphere. Even in limited form, they will set up a system according to those values. They will form a community. After that, they will face great hardships. And you see, with whom will the clash occur? With the false system of the world. That false system will strive with all its might to defeat them. Yet they will continue with steadfastness and perseverance. Why? Because they are certain that even if the results are not yet visible, these values will inevitably produce results. This is a certainty. Iman bil ghaib in the social sphere. Belief in the results of a system which are still in ghaib, unseen, is also Iman bil ghaib. And those who are the Sabiqun al-Awwalun, the pioneers, are precisely such people. They are the ones who believe in the truth of a system when its results have not yet appeared in visible form. Without the presence of such a group, the process cannot begin. Some human beings are required for it. And these are the very people whom the false society of their time calls madmen or fanatics.
A time interval is necessary for a system to produce results. You know, it is said about every messenger that until yesterday he was considered wise, but today people say, "What has happened to him?" The people of Saleh alayhi salam said to him, "Saleh, we had great hopes from you. What has happened that you now speak like madmen?" To initiate any system, such people are needed, and then a time interval is required. Every seed you sow takes time to produce results. Wheat itself takes 6 months, and the seeds sown in the human mind, who knows how long they will take. For the opposing side, the requirement should be, we ask nothing of you. We only say, keep working wholeheartedly according to your system. This was the stage of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he had formed a small group. But the opponents did not give that group any respite, any opportunity, any chance to remain steadfast on their system and let its results appear. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, God commanded him to say, قُلْ يَا قَوْمِ اعْمَلُوا عَلَى مَكَانَتِكُمْ إِنِّي عَامِيٌ 39:39. O my people, work according to your program. I do not interfere in it. See, dear brothers, what a pragmatic process this is. Let the results themselves prove the truth of the claim. During this period, I do not interfere in your matter. You act upon your system, let me act upon mine. Then, فَسَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ مَنْ تَكُونُ لَهُ عَاقِبَةُ الدَّارِ 6:135. The results will themselves show who ultimately gain success in the world. فَسَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ 6:135. It will not take long. Very soon you will see whose end is successful. You will see that today when it is said, one who earns through oppression and deceit does not succeed, you laugh, because in your society only such people succeed. But let the results of my program appear, and you will see, إِنَّهُ لَا يُفْلِحُ الظَّالِمُونَ 6:135. The crop of the oppressor cannot flourish. Your defective seeds will produce nothing. A tangible form of Iman bil Ghaib. This is Iman bil Ghaib, dear brothers, to reflect upon the unseen results of a system, to believe in its truth, and to bring it into practice. When its results appear, then the condition is يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. Village after village, community after community, people rush to adopt that seed. It is said, into this system, armies upon armies will enter. Let the tangible results of the system appear. Why our preaching is ineffective. We keep preaching throughout the world. Preach as much as you like. If the listener is thoughtful, he will say after hearing everything, yes, what you say is correct, but if you truly have such a cure-all prescription, then why is it that from Morocco to Indonesia, all your Muslim communities are engulfed in diseases from head to toe? You cannot cure even a single boil, yet you claim to possess the complete prescription of healing. The tangible results of a system, dear brothers, are the decisive proof that even the greatest minds cannot resist. This is yu'minuna bil ghaib. And I understand that at this point, when the Quran says, Hudan lil muttaqin, alladhina yu'minuna bil ghaib, it is beginning its system by saying, this book will guide those who, believing in the truth of the unseen results of this system, prepare themselves for the journey, act upon it in their lives, and move forward. The outcome of knowledge of the unseen in relation to cosmic law. One type of ghaib, unseen, is that which, after reflection upon the laws of the universe, you can predict in advance. For example, those who know astronomical calculations can sit today and state that a solar eclipse will occur 100 years from now, at such and such time, lasting for such and such duration, visible in certain places and not in others. They can say this even 100 or 1,000 years beforehand, and it will prove exactly correct. I gave the example of astronomy because the universe operates under law. For every law, if someone truly understands it and applies it correctly, he can definitely predict what will happen after a certain period. Similarly, medicines exist whose outcomes can be predicted. A doctor says, take this medicine, wait half an hour, and then this effect will occur. That is what law means. Knowledge of the unseen does not apply to beings with choice. Law means precisely this. It can be predicted centuries in advance. But consider another scenario. The same scientists, 10 or 20 astronomers, sit at a table calculating the eclipse. They can predict the eclipse with precision. Yet on that same table, a fly sits. None of those scientists can predict where the fly will fly next and where it will land. Why? Because the objects they calculated were not beings with choice. They are compelled like machines. You can know the parts of a machine because the machine itself does not interfere. But the fly, compared to a machine, has a slight degree of choice.
Even if it is not truly free, it can at least be given a higher rank between machine and human. It moves and sits by its own will. You cannot predict this unseen. And dear brothers, if this is true for a fly, then what about a human being who is endowed with choice and will? Can any scientist, any person of knowledge, predict the future actions of such a human? Not at all. Even a person himself cannot say what will happen to him tomorrow, despite having so many choices and being surrounded by countless factors.
Regarding knowledge of the unseen in human affairs. Dear brothers, when human choice enters the equation, no one can predict what he will do tomorrow. Regarding human life, no one can say anything in advance. See how the Quran distinguishes between these two types of ghaib. 1. One type of ghaib relates to the laws of nature. The Quran never says that only God knows this and no one else can. On the contrary, it says, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. God gave Adam complete knowledge of these. As soon as man acquires knowledge, he can know what the outcome will be. 2. But when a being with choice is involved, then no one can say what he will do tomorrow. This is the second type of ghaib. No person can know where he will die. Regarding this second type of ghaib, unseen, the Quran says that no human can know it. The Quran states, إِنَّ اللَّهَ عِنْدَهُ عِلْمُ السَّاعَةِ. Indeed, with Allah is the knowledge of the hour. I do not wish to discuss the hour here. وَيُنَزِّلُ الْغَيْثَ وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْأَرْحَامِ. He sends down the rain and knows what is in the wombs. Notice, regarding these two, it is not said that no one else can know them at all. Their connection is with the laws of nature. Now, listen further. وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ مَاذَا تَكْسِبُ غَدًا وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ بِأَيِّ أَرْضٍ تَمُوتُ. No soul knows what it will earn tomorrow, nor does any soul know in which land it will die. Here the phrase مَا تَدْرِي is used. This is the ghaib related to beings with choice. For them, no prediction can be made. No soul, no person, no human can know.
Reflect, dear brothers. The point that follows is very important for us. The conclusion is, regarding man's future, no one can say anything. Man himself shapes his future. It is not pre-written in the lines of his hand. Nature has left his forehead tablet blank. Nothing is inscribed upon it. He writes upon it with his own pen what he chooses to write. Therefore, no human can know what he will inscribe. No human knows. Only, إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلِيمٌ خَبِيرٌ. Indeed, Allah is all-knowing, all-aware. He alone knows, because for him there is no such thing as future. Past, present, and future are knots tied on the thread of time by the limited human mind. For God, everything is present. Therefore, he is all-knowing, all-aware. No human can say what he will do tomorrow, or in what condition his death will occur. No one knows. No one can tell the future of man. This is the claim about which the Quran says, قُلْ لَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ الْغَيْبَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Say, none in the heavens and the earth knows the unseen except Allah. See how simply it is negated? And it must be negated. Regarding beings with choice, no one can tell their future. Only God knows. Even about the prophets, the Quran says, they only know as much of the unseen as God informs them through revelation. After conveying some matters of the unseen through revelation, the Quran said to the Prophet, ذَلِكَ مِنْ أَنْبَاءِ الْغَيْبِ نُوحِيهِ إِلَيْكَ. This is from the news of the unseen which we reveal to you. Yes, God is all-knowing, all-aware. He knows. He conveys some of his knowledge to a human through revelation. Only the one who receives revelation knows, and only to the extent God gives him. Beyond that, the Prophet himself admitted and declared, وَلَا أَعْلَمُ الْغَيْبِ. I do not know the unseen. The things that appear in the Quran are not the result of his own knowledge. They were revealed to him, and he conveyed them. لا أعلم الغيب. I do not know the unseen. He did not know the future of others, nor even his own future. Thus, the conclusion is, regarding the future of human beings, no one knows except God. If God gave a portion of knowledge, he gave it to his messenger through revelation, But even the messenger in his personal capacity did not possess knowledge of the unseen. According to the Quran, fortune tellers have no importance. Dear brothers, think about it. These claims of predictions that we hear every day and which have been made for generations, elders too have been said to foretell your future. But what is the belief for those who follow the Quran? It says that no one knows the future except God. God gave knowledge only to those whom he made his messengers, and he gave it through revelation. Therefore, if anyone after them claims that he can predict something about the future of human life, not through science, but about human life itself, then either he is claiming revelation, claiming prophethood, or else his claim is false. According to the Quran, for anyone other than a prophet, prediction without revelation is impossible. I am speaking here about human life. In the laboratory of science, the matter is different.
Showing your hand to astrologers is the height of despair. Reflect how a slight deviation in belief can lead to superstition. Those astrologers sitting on the sidewalks of Ravi Road to whom people go to show their hands and learn their fate, these are the last resorts of human despair, what we call superstition. One who can work with his own hands does not go to them. Only one whose work has stopped goes to them. These are supports of despair. No human can tell anything about another human's future. No one can understand it. No one can know it. If someone claims to, then it is a claim of revelation. And God has said that he gave revelation only to his messengers. Whoever claims this today is claiming prophethood, claiming messengership. Claiming to predict the future breaks the seal of prophethood. If someone believes that a certain holy man can predict his future, then remember, he is considering that person to be a recipient of revelation, a prophet or messenger. In that case, the seal of prophethood is broken. And if that is not the case, then remember, according to the Quran, such a claim is a challenge to God. God says, you cannot know, but the claimant says, I know, I can tell. Therefore, regarding the unseen, the Quran calls such claims rajman bil ghaib, shooting guesses in the dark. These are all mere guesses. How remarkable is the Quran? It says superstition is based on coincidences. Sometimes a guess happens to be right, and then the initial belief becomes stronger. As for the guesses that prove wrong, people say, it was written in destiny. If something happens correctly, they say, it was destined and the holy man foretold it. And then there are such holy men who claim to change destinies, surpassing even God. But destiny is what God has decreed. This is another subject. Later, when we discuss destiny, I will explain what destiny means according to the Quran. For now, I am only speaking about the unseen, ghaib, a condition of knowledge of the unseen, determining the destination by understanding the qualities of the straight path. It is said, yu'minuna bil ghaib, 2:3. This is guidance for those who wish to walk the path. Their first condition is to determine the destination. For example, I want to reach a certain station. Which road should I take? Determining the destination is the second condition. It should not be aimless wandering. Third, the traveler must want the path to be straight, smooth, without twists and turns, without dangers. For this, it is necessary that he believe in truths which have not yet become visible before him, but which can be understood through knowledge, insight, and thought. Even about an unseen path, if the explainer is a person of thought and the listener has knowledge, then the unseen path can be explained in such a way that it becomes intellectually clear, and conviction arises that the matter is true. This is yu'minuna bil ghaib, 2:3. At this stage, as I have said, since this is the beginning and a system is to be established ahead, the Quran says these are the pioneers, al-sabiqun al-awwalun, those who rise up believing in the unseen pleasant results of God's system, at a time when the whole world says this is just one small group, they are mad. They rise, the world laughs at them.
The Quran says in one place, "Tell them, today you laugh at us, tomorrow the whole world will laugh at you." Without pioneers, the dream of a new world cannot be realized. Dear brothers, until a nation produces such pioneers, al-sabiqun al-awwalun, those who rise with a system when the whole world calls them mad, saying this system cannot be established, and if it cannot be established, how can the world be attracted to its radiant results? Until then, the dream of a new world cannot be fulfilled. There is only one way to convince the world of the truth of the Quran, and that is the way shown 1400 years ago by Muhammadun Rasulullahi. This is a stage of great struggle, and that is why the Quran has described the high ranks of al-sabiqun al-awwalun. Dear brothers, when wheat begins to yield 120 mounds per acre, then every farmer plants it, but the ranks belong to those who believed before seeing such results, who were convinced in this way. The whole world said to them, "You are mad," yet they remained steadfast, committed to their mission. For the benefit of humanity, the pioneers are always filled with the spirit of madness. Remember, this was not mere emotionalism. We call it madness because it is a relative term. The rest of the world, by its own standards, said they do not even know their own benefit or loss. But in reality, they were the most intelligent and wise. The Quran calls them li uli al-albab. It says the believers are precisely these li uli al-albab, people of intellect. One has intellect. Albab means the very essence of intellect. These are the ones whom the Quran calls wasabiqun al-awwalun. This is not emotionalism. It is what Iqbal described. Ye hai nihayat e andesha wa amal e junun. This is the utmost of thought and the perfection of passion. After the utmost reflection, they enter the field of action as if madmen enter it. Every action of theirs is the result of deep thought and intellect. They do not act under emotions. If a person rises only on emotions, then according to the Quran, it is not Iman. Emotions are unreliable, constantly changing. True Iman is when a person after complete intellect and reflection reaches a conclusion and then cannot be moved from it. Such Iman cannot be shaken. So understand, when I use the word madness several times, do not take it as the irrational frenzy born of emotions. Rather, say, farzana beguftare, diwana bekirdare. Wise in speech, mad in action. In the world of thought and understanding, they are at the highest level of consciousness. But when they enter the field of action, they work like madmen. These are the sabiqun al-awwalun. The practical program of the sabiqun al-awwalun and the meaning of salah. Dear brothers, these are the alladhina yu'minuna bil ghaib, those who by believing in the unseen results of this system set out upon the path. What do? Ahead comes the system for whose establishment certain conditions are necessary. That system is wayukimuna salah. They establish salah. You will find these very words written, establish salah. Salah is a word that gradually disappeared in usage, replaced by namaz. Establish namaz. Namaz is a familiar, visible practice among us. Everyone knows it, but namaz is not an Arabic word. It's from Old Persian, the Pahlavi language. Among the Magi's, their worship was called namaz. Even today, the Parsis call their worship namaz. It is their word. In any case, the word itself is not the issue. If the word reflects the correct meaning, then the word is acceptable. The diver seeks the pearl, not the shell. But if the pearl is absent inside, then the shell is useless. In wayukimuna salah, the word ikama is used. I have already explained Gama earlier when the word mustaqim appeared, so there is no need to repeat. To establish something means to make it firm, to give it stability, to make it settled. Something is to be established, strengthened, made permanent. Here, salah is to be established.
I said in the earlier lesson, when these matters arise, do not rush. I will come to namaz, explain its importance, and show that it is indeed a duty. But before that, listen to one point. Salah must be organized and structured according to Quranic principles. Salah is not just namaz. A salah is much broader. Namaz is only one aspect of it. Salah is the entire program of a believer's life. It is not confined to the mosque. It encompasses every sphere of life, every breath. It is the program of a believer's life. One program is that which we ourselves determine. Another program is that which we organize according to the principles laid down by God. That program is called a salah. This is something to listen to carefully, because what is currently in our minds is the conventional understanding. What I am saying is different from that, so it requires careful attention. It needs detail, because the entire Quran is filled with it. The Quran has two fundamental terms, iqamet salah, establishing salah, and ita zakah, giving zakah. Today, their meanings have reduced to salah equals the 5 daily prayers performed in the mosque, and zakah equals the 2.5% annual charity. These belong to the world of religion. In the world of deen, these practices are included, but they are not limited to them. They are far broader. The broad meaning of salah according to the Quran. First, let us take a salah, and later, when zakah comes, we will explain that too. According to the Arab's language, the basic meaning of a salah is to follow closely behind someone with commitment, to walk in adherence. They use the word musalli. Among us, musalli may sometimes mean one who prays, but in old Montgomery, Punjab, there were communities called musalli. In Arab usage, musalli referred to the horse in a race that runs immediately behind the leading horse, pressing so close that its head is aligned with the hindquarters of the horse in front. It remains behind, never overtaking, but also never leaving a gap wide enough for anything else to come between them. You know, you prayed, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, 1:5, guide us to the straight path. And the Quran said, Inna Rabbi ala siratin mustaqim, 11:56. Indeed, my Lord is on the straight path. So what should we do? The Quran says, become musalli. The matter is clear. He goes ahead, you follow behind in adherence. You cannot go ahead of him. Dear brothers, look at the Arab's language and the Quran's choice. How much meaning is packed into the word musalli. You cannot surpass, nor can you allow distance. Musalli are those who, in every sphere of life, walk so closely with God's laws that no gap, no distance, no divergence arises between them and those laws. Now ask, is this something to be done only at specific times or with every breath of life? If the horse follows for 5 minutes but is tied to the stable for 3 hours, Arabs would not call it musalli. Thus, when the Quran uses a salah, it means following God's laws continuously. And when it says, وَيُقِيمُونَ salah, 2:3, they establish salah, it refers to establishing this system of life. Remember, this is not an individual matter because the verb is plural. An individual cannot establish a system. Its meaning is that society which is established according to God's laws and permanent values. For this, you need conviction in the results of that system which have not yet appeared but will appear. This book is guidance for the group that rises with the determination to replace the existing society with one where God's laws are implemented and enforced, where every individual naturally follows those laws. Today, if you try to follow even one clause of God's law, you face countless obstacles. But if a society is established where everyone follows with discipline, then no obstacle remains. This is iqamet salah, establishing salah. Dear brothers, this was introductory. Our method is to take everything from the Quran, and we must, for it is our signpost, our code of life, our guidance. Listen, where does the Quran use the word as-salah? Its meaning is
to fulfill the duties of life according to God's prescribed law, the official responsibilities of existence as determined by God's law. See how the Quran uses this word and how clearly it calls out that these are the meanings. For example, أَلَمْ تَرَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ يُسَبِّحُ لَهُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ. Here, the word يُسَبِّحُ, tasbih, appears. Later, the word tasbih will appear, and then I will explain what it means. In 2441, it is said, "Have you reflected upon this?" The first point is that this is something to reflect upon. Everything in the heights and depths of the universe is engaged in the tasbih of God. I have said that if I go into tasbih now, I will move away from explaining the meaning of salah. So for now, let me just say, tasbih means to strive continuously with all effort toward the achievement of a purpose. The Arabs use the word tasbih for the gait of a horse when it stretches its legs to their full length, running with all its energy and capacity. In the universe, everything expends its full energies in fulfilling its appointed functions. For example, a honeybee. To collect even a fraction of nectar from a flower and return it to its hive, it may travel 37,000 miles in a single day. This is tasbih. You know the speed at which it flies. This matter will come again in Surah Al-Nahl, but for now I mention it briefly. The Quran says, "Kullun qad alima." Everything in the universe certainly, alima, knows. What does it know? Salatahu wa tasbihahu. Each thing knows its own salah and tasbih. Reflect, dear brothers. If you translate salah here as namaz and tasbih as the rosary we turn in our hands, what meaning would emerge? I have said that what I call namaz will come later, but here I emphasize, think about kullun kad alima salatahu wa tasbihahu. Everything knows its own salah and tasbih. And how it knows, you already understand. They are walking upon the straight path, never erring, because they follow their Lord closely. These are the musalli. They know their salah. Thus, everything knows its destination, the path to reach it, the striving required, the system and the program it must fulfill. Each thing knows all this. Here the word salah appears, dear brothers. Elsewhere, the Quran explains clearly what salah means in human life and what happens when salah is wasted. The result of establishing the system of salah and the disasters of wasting it. In Surah Maryam, the noble mention of the prophets continues. After describing them, it says, "These were the ones who established the system and demonstrated through its radiant results how true their words were. Then they departed, and after them, فَخَلَفَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ. Successors arose who claimed their names but were unworthy. What did they do? أَدَاعُوا الصَّلَاةِ. They wasted salah. What does this mean? I have said that the Quran itself clarifies its meanings. No word or phrase is left without explanation somewhere else. They wasted salah doesn't simply mean they stopped praying. The Quran explains, وَاتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ. Instead of following God's law, they pursued their own selfish interests. As I said earlier, the Quran often clarifies meanings by presenting opposites. The opposite of iqamatu salah, establishing the salah, is ittiba'u shahawat, following desires. As soon as they pursued selfish interests, salah was wasted. As soon as we abandon selfish interests and follow the system given by God's law, salah is established. The cure for earthly problems caused by self-interest lies only in the system of salah. Ittiba al-shahawat, following desires, and iqamat al-salah, establishing salah, are two opposite things, and this is the very foundation. What happens in a society built on the wrong foundation? Every individual pursues his own interest. Every group revolves around its own interest. Every party chases its own interest. And on the higher international level, every nation pursues its own interest. But the divine system is that for which it is said, only that which benefits humanity will remain on earth. So establish this system, salah is established. Dear brothers, that system will be beneficial for all humanity. In it, there is no following of selfish desires. How the system of Salah is established? Prayer, you know, it can be performed under any government. Even during British rule, it was allowed. We used to read in history as children. The church bell rings only on Sunday, while the sound of conch and adhan echoes daily. Governments gave freedom to pray, so prayer can be performed under any system. Even alone, without a congregation, one can pray. No one has ever stopped it. But look at what the Quran calls Salah. When Moses, alayhi salam, ascended the heights of Mount Tur, for the first time he was told, Innani ikhtartuka. I have chosen you. I have selected you for a great program, chosen you from all humanity. Think, God is choosing a man, one already known as the possessor of Darb-e-Kalim, an Ul-al-Azm prophet. God says, I have chosen you for this task. The task is, first understand, Innani ana Allah. Indeed, I am Allah, the possessor of authority. Notice the eloquence. Here it says, Innani, we. A judge in court always refers to himself as we. Reflect on the difference. When speaking to the helpless, God said, I am with you. But here he says, Ana Allah. I am Allah, the possessor of authority. La ilaha illa ana. There is no one else to be obeyed or submitted to. What messages are being given? Then, fa'budni. Therefore, submit only to me. Do not submit to anyone else. And for this, wa aqim as-salah li dhikri. Establish salah for my remembrance, to exalt my honor. This is the program you must establish. Salah as the program of revolution. After aqim as-salah, it is said, Inna sa'atun atiyatun akadu ukhfiha. The hour is coming, I almost conceal it. That great revolution is now approaching. What was underground, hidden, will now rise to the surface. Go establish salah, and that revolution will manifest. Then, idhab ila fir'auna innahu tagha. Go to Pharaoh, for he has transgressed greatly. Go before the tyrannical powers of the world, overturn their systems, and in their place establish the system of God's laws. That is iqamat al-salah. The Quran's use of salah. Dear brothers, reflect on the position where the Quran brings the word salah. How remarkable! Here, the feeling is like, Zifarq ta bekadam har kuja ke minigram, karishmae damane dil mikashad ke ja inja ast. From head to toe, wherever I cast my gaze, the charm seizes my heart, saying, here is the place. Such is the beauty of the beloved. Wherever the eye rests, it clings, saying, do not go further, the truth is here. Quranic revolution never arrives overnight. The Quran says, Inna sa'atun atiyatun akadu ukhfiha. Take this one verse, dear brothers, and see how many lessons it contains. The Quran declares that revolutions do not occur overnight. First, they move quietly beneath the surface, unnoticed. Then comes the time when they appear in visible form before the world. At that moment, the world sees the revolution, but the Quran says, we had already seen it long before. Agadu ukhfiha. What was happening imperceptibly within the heart of a subjugated nation, the inner turmoil and upheaval, is now meant to rise to the surface. The central role of Moses alayhi salam in the revolution against Pharaoh. Go, establish salah. لِتُجْزَى كُلُّ نَفْسٍ بِمَا تَسْعَى. 2015. What was the revolution, dear brothers? It was this. Establish a system in which every individual receives the reward of his own labor. What is Pharaohism? One sows the seed, another reaps the harvest.
A man works hard all year, dies in toil, and someone else takes the share. The Quran says, "Kullu nafsin bima tas'a," 20:15. Every person should receive the full return of his effort. Thus, an ulul azm prophet was chosen for this mission. He was told, "Go to Pharaoh, for he has become arrogant. Establish Salah there, so that the revolution which was quietly moving beneath the surface now rises openly, and its result is that every person receives the full fruit of his labor." This is the meaning of iqamat as-salah, the salah of Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam, and the importance of the economic system. Listen further, dear brothers. Salah is not confined to the four walls of the mosque. Another prophet, contemporary of Moses, was Shu'aib alayhi salam, sent to the people of Midian. The Quran says their economic system had become highly unjust and distorted. This was the fundamental corruption of the nation to which Shu'aib was sent. It appears from the Quran's description that the people strongly opposed him. They must have asked, "What do you want?" Shu'aib replied, "I only want freedom for salah." Freedom, not permission. I want liberty to establish salah. They thought, what harm is there? If he wants to pray 4 rakats, let him. What difference does it make to us? Let him pray all night. They agreed. But when Shu'aib began to establish salah, the people came and asked, "Asalatuka ta'muruka an natruka ma ya'budu aba'una?" Does your salah command you that we must abandon what our forefathers practiced, that every tradition we inherited must be rejected? And does it command you that an naf'ala fi amwalina ma nasha'u, that we cannot spend our wealth as we please? They said, if this is salah, then no, we cannot allow it. The Quran records they threatened Shu'aib, "Leave this salah, or we will drive you out of the town." Such was the salah, dear brothers. Could the townspeople tolerate it? Ritual prayer they could tolerate. It harms no one. In fact, they welcomed it. Keep him absorbed in morning remembrance and meditation. Strengthen his monastic temperament. Iqbal, Armaghani Hijaz. All night let him pray, just don't let him become useful for any other work. But Shu'aib's salah was different. It commanded that wealth could not be spent according to selfish desires. That was salah. And they said, no, this cannot be permitted. Everyone permits prayer, but no one tolerates salah. Dear brothers, the conventional namaz is what I have just mentioned. This can be performed under every government, in every society, at every place. But salah has a special condition. What is that condition? Let me repeat. Namaz can be performed during any period of subjugation, under any government, within any false society. The Quran says, this group that has arisen, yu'minuna bil ghayb, they are the ones who will establish this system. When this group comes to power, then, الَّذِينَ إِمَّكَّنَّاهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ, those who, when we grant them authority in the land, these are the people who, when they are given government, when they are firmly established in the land, then what will they do? At this point, one might think it would describe a grand project, elaborate plans, armies, and all the things that come to our minds. But the Quran says, when their own government is established, then what will they do? أَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةِ, they will establish salah. Dear brothers, time has ended. We will continue this in the next lesson. رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ